Chapter 30. After this, King Hezekiah sent messengers throughout all Israel and Judah, and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, inviting them to come to the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover in honor of the Lord, the God of Israel. Or the king, his officials, and the whole assembly in Jerusalem had decided to celebrate it in the second month, since they could not do it at the regular time the first month because not enough priests had consecrated themselves and the people had not yet gathered in Jerusalem. The plan seemed right to the king and to the whole assembly, so they decided to make a proclamation throughout Israel, from Beersheba in the south to Dan in the north, calling everyone to come to Jerusalem and celebrate the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel. Why? It had not been celebrated in large numbers according to what was written for a long time. At the king's command, couriers went throughout Israel and Judah with letters from the king and his officials, which said, "People of Israel, return to the Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, that he may return to you who are left, who have escaped from the hand of the kings of Assyria. Do not be like your ancestors and your fellow Israelites, who were unfaithful to the Lord, the God of their ancestors, so that he made them an object of horror, as you see. Do not be stiff-necked, as your ancestors were. Submit to the Lord. Come to his sanctuary, which he has consecrated forever. Serve the Lord your God, so that his fierce anger will turn away from you. If you return to the Lord, then your fellow Israelites and your children will be shown compassion by their captors and will return to this land. For the Lord your God is gracious and merciful. He will not turn his face from you if you return to him." The couriers went from town to town in Ephraim and Manasseh, as far as Zebulun, but the people scorned and ridiculed them. However, some from Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and went to Jerusalem. Also in Judah, the hand of God was on the people to give them unity of mind, to carry out what the king and his officials had ordered. Following the word of the Lord, a very large crowd of people assembled in Jerusalem in the second month, to celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. They removed the altars in Jerusalem and cleared away all the incense altars and threw them into the Kidron Valley. They slaughtered the Passover lamb on the 14th day of the second month. The priests and Levites were ashamed, so they consecrated themselves and brought burnt offerings to the temple of the Lord. They took up their regular positions as prescribed in the law of Moses, the man of God. The Levites handed the blood to the priests, who splashed it against the altar. Since many in the assembly had not consecrated themselves, the Levites had to kill the Passover lambs for all who were not ceremonially clean and could not consecrate their sacrifices to the Lord. For a large number of the people, many from Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun had not purified themselves, yet they ate the Passover contrary to what was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, "May the Lord, who is good, pardon everyone who sets their heart on seeking God the Lord, the God of their ancestors, even if they are not clean according to the rules of the sanctuary." And the Lord heard Hezekiah and healed the people. The Israelites who were present in Jerusalem celebrated the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days with great rejoicing. While the Levites and priests praised the Lord every day with resounding instruments dedicated to the Lord, Hezekiah spoke encouragingly to all the Levites who showed good understanding of the service of the Lord. For 7 days they celebrated with joy, offering fellowship offerings and praising the Lord, the God of their ancestors. The whole assembly then agreed to celebrate the festival 7 more days. So for another 7 days, they celebrated joyfully. King Hezekiah provided the assembly with 1,000 bulls and 7,000 sheep and goats, and the officials provided them with 1,000 bulls and 10,000 sheep and goats. A great number of priests consecrated themselves. The entire assembly of Judah rejoiced, along with the priests and Levites. And all who had assembled from Israel, including the foreigners who had come from Israel and those who lived in Judah, there was great joy in Jerusalem. For since the days of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, there had been nothing like this in Jerusalem. The priests and the Levites stood to bless the people, and God heard them, for their prayer reached heaven, his holy dwelling place. Chapter 31. When the festival was over, all the Israelites who had been in Jerusalem went out to the towns of Judah and smashed the sacred pillars, cut down the Asherah poles, and destroyed the high places and altars throughout Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh. After that, everyone returned to their own towns and homes. Hezekiah organized the priests and Levites into divisions, assigning each group its duties. The priests were to offer the burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, and the Levites were to sing praises and give thanks to the Lord and to guard the gates of the temple. The king contributed from his own possessions the animals required for the morning and evening burnt offerings, as well as the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, the new moon festivals, and the appointed feasts as required in the law of the Lord. He also commanded the people living in Jerusalem to give the portion due to the priests and Levites, so they could devote themselves fully to the law of the Lord. As soon as the command went out, the people generously brought the first fruits of their grain, wine, oil, honey, and all the produce of their fields. They brought a tithe of everything in great abundance. The people of Israel and those living in the towns of Judah also brought tithes of their herds and flocks and of the dedicated things that were consecrated to the Lord their God, and they piled them up in large heaps. They began to pile them up in the 3rd month and finished in the 7th month. When Hezekiah and his officials came and saw the heaps, they praised the Lord and blessed the people of Israel. Hezekiah asked the priests and Levites about the heaps, and Azariah the chief priest from the family of Zadok answered, "Since the people began to bring their gifts to the temple, we have had plenty to eat, and more than enough to spare, for the Lord has blessed his people, and this great amount is left over." Hezekiah then ordered storerooms to be prepared in the temple of the Lord, and this was done. They faithfully brought in the offerings, tithes, and dedicated items. Conaniah the Levite was put in charge of them, and his brother Shimei was his assistant. Under Conaiah and Shimei, the king and Azariah the chief priest appointed these Levites to serve: Jehiel, Azasiah, Nahath, Asahal, Jeremoth, Josabad, Eliel, Micaiah, Mahath, and Benaiah. Kori son of Imnah, the gatekeeper at the east gate, was in charge of the freewill offerings given to God and distributing the contributions offered to the Lord. In the priestly cities, Eden, Miniamin, Jeshua, Shemaiah, Amariah, and Shechaniah faithfully assisted him in distributing portions to their fellow Levites according to their divisions, giving the same share to each, whether their names were listed in the genealogical records or not. They distributed portions to every male Levite 30 years old and older who came to serve in the temple according to their duties and divisions. The genealogical records also included all the wives, sons, and daughters, the entire household, because the priests and Levites had been set apart to devote themselves to the sacred work. Men were also appointed to distribute portions to all the male descendants of Aaron living in the priestly towns and to all the Levites whose names were recorded. This is what Hezekiah did throughout Judah. He did what was good, right, and faithful before the Lord his God. In everything he undertook for the service of the temple of God and in obedience to the law and the commands. He sought God wholeheartedly, and so he prospered.